in my subsequent videos about how I broke loose from addiction. It's part of the things I'll be talking about, but I don't want to go too deep into the story. I have a story on that, how I was able to detach from addiction. So now, desire is an issue that the heart needs to master. You need to master how to take charge of your desire, or else if you don't take charge of it, then your perception comes in. And this issue of perception, you need to actually probe it. Within your perception, of course, your sensory perception, and the way you feel, the way you see, the way you touch, taste, and all these things. You make judgments. I don't like this food. This food does not taste so nice. You make judgments of these things. They're not. You can just see someone that's supposed to be your husband, but you say, "Oh, it's not my type. He's not smelling good. He doesn't have a car. He does not." We make a lot of judgments and all these things. But if you are able to probe into your heart so well, you'll be able to understand that the flow of desire is pure. Desire is pure. It is pure consciousness. So you need to rid yourself of every impure intention so that you'll be able to experience that pure consciousness. I was actually meditating on a scripture about the heart today, and it really ministered to me a lot. Jesus was telling, I think his disciples, he was saying something about the fact that whatever comes out of a man is not what defiles him, but what defiles him is the content of his heart. And that brings me to a point that your heart, the content of your heart determines what comes out of your mouth. And that's why the Bible talks about, it says, with your heart man believes unto righteousness. So your heart is the seat of belief. With your heart you believe, and with your mouth you confess unto salvation. So the first step is not just confessing. The first step is actually to believe, is to take in. And what are you going to take in? Number one, words. Words are very crucial in this matter. Words. The quality of the words that you hear. In my previous episode, I talked about the hearing, how your ears are connected to your heart. Even the spelling of the word heart, is self-explanatory. From that age, I don't want to go deep into that. But your ears connect directly to your heart. Your eyes too connect directly to your heart. So your imaginations and your hearing, like these two, your eyes and your ears, they determine what goes into your heart. I was meditating on a scripture, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3 or 4. It says, casting down imaginations. Let me even first deal with the issue of imagination first. This is a very crucial, topic. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of the I am. I said earlier that you are the I am. And who is the I am? God. So God is you. You are God. You are God's, right? We are together. We are the all, right? Of course, I can't say I am God in totality, yet I am a part of that God. Just like a drop of water is water. If I take a drop of water from the ocean, then that water is ocean, but it's a drop in the ocean. So, but you can't compare a drop to this ocean, of course. God is the all in all, right? But I am one with that God. Even the Bible says that we are joint heirs with the I am. We are joint heirs with Christ. So now, casting down imagination. Let me talk about imagination a little bit. I'm going to do a video on imagination later. The word imagination is a combination of two words: image and nation. Image and nation, or thought that has supreme or ultimate power on an individual. Yeah. So I actually checked the word nation. What does nation mean in the dictionary? A nation means a sovereign state. A sovereign state or nation means exercising power of rule or having supreme ultimate power. A nation is a sovereign state. It also means a state that exercises power of rule or having supreme ultimate power. So it means that your imagination has ultimate power over you. Albert Einstein said something, I saw one of his quotes. He said, imagination is more important than knowledge. That shook me. He said, imagination is more important than knowledge. He knows what he's saying. He knew what he said. I think that's the right phrase. He knew what he said. What he's trying to tell you is that your image, the image of what you see, that image is what is actually having rule over you. So now that scripture now says, casting down imagination and every high thing that exalts itself against. The Bible did not actually condemn the imagination. No. It's not a condemning issue. What it's just trying to say is that any imagination that is actually taking up your being, that is trying to take over the rule or sovereign power that has been given to you, then that imagination needs to be cast down. That nation, that imagination needs to be cast down. So any imagination that wants to exalt itself against that knowledge, against the embodiment of the I am that you are, then that image needs to be cast down. Now, before that scripture, I think verse 2 or 3, it says, the weapons of our warfare, they are not carnal. Now, even the Bible recognizes that for you to cast it down, it is actually going to take some level of warfare. And when we talk about warfare, we are not talking about guns. And that's why I said our weapons of warfare, they are not carnal, they are not guns, they are not bombs, they are not these things that we can touch and feel, They are mighty through the I am, through the pulling down of strongholds. Have you heard the word, this phrase, they'll say, it is about the mind, do it with the mind. Psychologists, I think that's their logo, they'll say, that's their word, like their catchphrase or something. They say, do it with the mind. It is in the mind that you are able to do that warfare. Casting down those imaginations, those images that are trying to take rule over your life, and they are going beyond the knowledge of I am. And some of these things, they are like low states, like I said in my previous video. I talked about the fact that how you can convert or transform this low state of emotions into positive ones. So those low state of those guilt, those things that are suppressing or that are depressing you, those are what I'm talking about. Those things that are depressing, they are actually taking charge of your mind. They're trying to they are not helping you to see the bigger picture. They are not helping you to elevate. They are not helping you to manifest. Those are the things the Bible is talking about. Those thoughts, those programs. I talked about programming. I talked about conditioning. I think in in psychology, they talk where there's something called operant and classical conditioning, right? I'm not a psychologist, I didn't study psychology, but I have friends that studied psychology, and they talk about these things. There's something called genetic conditioning, and there's something called environmental conditioning. So there are two conditionings. We have been programmed by our genetics. That is one. And when I say genetic condition, it means some of the happenings and some of the things that your fathers, your ancestors, they've done in the past. Those things have now conditioned you to be who you are right now. Of course, I am an offshoot of my ancestors. So there is a conditioning that makes me look like this. Some people look at one of my aunts looked at me and said, "You look exactly like your father." I said, I don't know. But the truth is, if you see my dad, you'll be able to recognize that, oh, okay. This. If you see my dad and you look at me, you say, oh, that is father's son. So that is also part of the genetic conditioning. So I have a tendency to inherit some of his actions, even his father's father. If we go deep into your DNA, our body has cells. The cells have chromosomes, and the chromosomes have genes, and the genes have DNA. So the DNA records all the actions of your ancestors. So those actions they add up to form your father, and your father now gives birth to you, which is this. So the imagination, the things that you have seen, for some of us in the past, we've watched some pornography. We've watched a lot of things. It's so interesting that online, it's so easy to just access pornography. It's just easy. Just go online, just go on some site, and you just see some images of naked women having sex with, naked men and women and stuff like that. These things are actually creating pictures and image in your mind. So the idea is that once these images, once they find expression in your life, once they take you over, you cannot see anything greater than that. And guess what? It happens at a subconscious level. It happens in your subconscious mind. It happens in your heart. The heart is one that records these things in forms of feelings. I said earlier that two things that motivates our existence, that motivates us to action. Number one, it is pleasure. Number two is pain. Pain is a motivator. Once you know that once you can feel pain, you know that this is a no-go area. So fear is like the anticipation of pain, right? Once you know that this thing is painful, you don't want to go there. That's the way we were brought up when we were growing up. We were actually caned. There's this thing they call cane. Our parents bought cane and they beat us whenever we do something that is wrong. So once you look at that thing, you don't want to do it because you know that daddy is going to beat you or your uncle is going to beat you. Now, but pleasure is another thing. In fact, that pleasure factor is also a very important subject here. Oh my God. Oh my God. Pleasure. Once the pleasure factor is added to it, then what happens is that your heart records the feeling, the emotion behind the action. So you want to go back to it again. And that's why sex is very powerful. If the divine is just so intentional, very intentional, I now begin to understand why pleasure was added to the issue of sex. Because if there was no pleasure added to it, then nobody wants to have sex and reproduce. Reproduction will not be fun to actualize because there's but if there's so much pleasure attached to it, then you just want to do it because you just want to go back doing it, especially when your heart remembers, when your heart is able to feel what it meant to have the sex in the first place.